Hey everybody, this is Cameron from Obnoxious and Anonymous, and welcome to the Twin Peaks Watchalong for Part 12, Let's Rock, written by Mark Frost and David Lynch, and of course directed by the man himself, David Lynch. My guest today is Mandy. How's it going?
Good, how are you?
It's always great to see you each week now for these
Yeah,
things.
yay!
All right, so before we get to the watch along, there's a couple things I want to talk with you about. So last night, Showtime dropped to us the titles of the last two episodes or parts of this new series. Part 17 is called The Past Dictates the Future, and part 18 will be called What Is Your Name? Now, when you heard these titles, not that we're putting any stock on these titles anymore, what did you think of these titles they gave us?
I kind of wanted to close my eyes and plug my ears, because they're very interesting. They're very intriguing, but we know what happens when we get intrigued by titles. So, yeah, it's the last one. What is your name? That is, I mean, I hope that it's telling of something, but it's a little bit scary too. So I'm surprised they released them this early. I thought they were gonna wait a lot longer until way closer to the end, but I guess we'll see what they mean.
So jokingly, I've been telling people that part 17 was going to be called Hows, HOW''S, and 18 was going to be called Annie. I think that would have been awesome.
Yeah.
I've had some people say to me, which is very interesting. Now, this is no one official. These are just fans throwing out theories that at the end of part 18, Cooper will be back, in his own mind, knowing who he is. And someone will ask him, what is your name? And he will say, Dougie Jones. And he will just assume the role of Dougie Jones, having a wife and a kid and having the life that he didn't get to have over the last 25 years. If it ends with Cooper knowing who he is, but remaining as Dougie Jones, is that a satisfactory ending for you in terms of the Cooper arc?
Absolutely not. I think that would I'd probably break my TV. I'd probably have some sort of fit. I think that would be very no, I would hate it. I'm kind of speechless as to what to think about that, because it's such a terrible thought that I don't even want to entertain it. But I would hate that very, very much.
All
And
right.
you?
If it was again, tone is everything, how it's done is everything. I think that was my response almost to the Audrey scene in this episode after the first watch. Was I was never appalled by the scene, the Audrey's life and where she was in life. If we can even draw any thoughts to what that scene was even about, for the most part, I just think that the scene itself, because it was over 10 minutes in length, and she never moved, and her husband Charlie did not move except to pick up the phone, that you were the awkwardness of the scene came through, and not in a positive way for a lot of people. I don't think it was a 50-50 split between some people saying it's brilliant and other people saying, what did he do to Audrey? I think it was more of an 80-20 split. I think 20 people were saying it was great and 80 people saying this is utter crap.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of that 80% were people who were offended by the predicament that Lynch was throwing Audrey into. Added to the fact that there's a lot of rumors going around. I don't know if it's true or not, but there's a lot of rumors going around that she shot her side of the scene separately from the other actor. And so she did not know who she was acting opposite of.
What Where would what that? Why would they do that?
Well, Lynch did only give some of the actors their dialogue.
Oh my goodness.
So maybe she didn't even know who she was talking to. I don't know if that's true or not, but that has been reported one too many times for me not to, ponder about that. For years, if you've been following this podcast, I've been saying that my dream was that Ben Horn, who in the end of the second season got his head, he hit the fireplace.
Mm-hmm.
I was always thinking that in my dream scenario, if I could write Twin Peaks fan fiction here, that Audrey Horn, because John Justice Wheeler never came back for her, or maybe something happened to him, she never got to live her life of intrigue and this and that. So she would be running the Great Northern, and Cooper's, obviously the doppelganger. He's been a jerk to her. Maybe something happened between them. I don't know what, but John Justice Wheeler wasn't there. Maybe her having to take care of her dad, much like Johnny, like maybe her dad is more of in a catatonic state, or something happened to him.
Mm-hmm.
That to have her be kind of an ice cold witch with a capital B running the Great Northern would be a great role for her to play at this point in her life. Now, I think that there's aspects of that in this scene, but we don't know the context of the scene, right? I mean, we get a lot of names thrown at us. There's a lot of stuff about Billy, and obviously we know that's the guy that was talking to Andy about the stolen car, and that we get it cuts back to the door of Billy's house. It's open and it's that slow moving. So it's presumably her husband, Charlie, telling her or not telling her that Billy, her lover, is dead at the end of that scene. That's what it seems like. Who knows? Who knows? But what I find interesting is that there's so many fans. Obviously, there's people that are just huge David Lynch fans. I mean, huge. And everything he does, I mean, the guy could blow his nose on camera and it would be a masterpiece. All right. Then you have the other half that are just infuriated with, they feel like he wronged Sherilyn Fenn, that he wronged the character of Audrey Horn, and that he spat on their fandom by not even giving her an introduction. They just did a hard cut to her. And I have to see from a filmmaker's point of view, I was surprised by that. I thought if any character was going to get some sort of introduction, even Diane got an introduction turning away from the bar. Hello, Albert. Right? Audrey just got a hard cut. So if you look at it through the prism of other fans that say, well, David Lynch knows who the fan base is, and he deliberately went out there just to tick them off. Here's a hard cut of Audrey, and here's a 10-minute scene, so you're getting your Audrey Horn, but she's cussing up a storm. She's not the Audrey you remember. It's basically like a bucket of cold water thrown on you. Yeah, I get that too, but that doesn't make it entertaining for a lot of people either.
Yeah, exactly.
So, I don't know. Yeah. I have seen the scene again a second time because I knew what to expect. Now I was able to kind of sit back and whatever. And again, the scene never bothered me because of her situation in life. It bothered me because it just seemed at first awkward and who cares? Because it was the same amount of information could have been done in 5 minutes as opposed to 11 minutes.
Yeah.
And that was kind of my frustration with it. Was okay, I get what the scene is. You're deliberately toying with people and their expectations, but you could have done that in 5 minutes, not 11 minutes, and eaten up this much screen time. There's so much stuff that theoretically we should be getting to in these last 6 hours. And people say to me, 6 hours is a lot of time. And it is. Let's be honest here. It's 3 feature-length movies. But at the pace that this series is going, it's not a lot of time. So Do you think that this new series is going to wrap up satisfactorily in any way, shape, or form? Or do you think it's going to, and when I say leave things open, I don't mean like, little things that you can infer to. I mean like huge things open, right? like we never know anything about Jerry Horn. He was just running through the woods for the whole series and that was it. What's your, what right now, where's your confident level as to, because I gotta say mine is still high because the scenes that work, they work so well, and a lot of it does work well, that I'm like, I have a feeling it's gonna stick the landing. I still do. But like I said to Hal the other day, when do fans, because listen, I know there's gonna be a lot of people who disagree with me, and I am not one of these people. I want to make it clear, I am not one of these people. But there are a lot of real hardcore David Lynch fans that are starting to panic. And you can tell they're panicking because when you see them online posting huge theories of, well, maybe Audrey is in a soap opera and we just didn't see the camera back up from the set. Or maybe Audrey's in a mental institution and she's talking to her doctor. Okay, any of those may be true, or anything else may be true. But you're coming up with these theories because you can't accept that Lynch just threw this scene at you and you don't know how to handle it. So you're coming up with all these theories to justify why it's a masterpiece scene, when in reality, it's a scene just deliberately there to toy with viewers' expectations. Hopefully it goes somewhere. Hopefully it takes us on a journey. Sherilyn Fenn apparently has said that it does move somewhere. But, Kyle MacLachlan also said his character was going to move somewhere, and he hasn't. Listen, I love Dougie Jones, but he hasn't moved in 10 episodes. Or no, I mean, it's like, whatever, 7 episodes there. But he's been at a he's been in a Rain Man standstill for a long time, right? Yeah. And I don't want to just see one episode and 3 scenes where things just come together and everything's hunky dory. I want to feel like a procession of scenes that build to an overwhelming climax of emotional something, So yeah, where are you right now?
I'm still confident. I go back to the thought pattern that, David Lynch and Mark Frost sat in a room together, or actually probably didn't sit together, but theoretically
over Skype.
They sat together. They worked on this novel, this movie, this procession of events, and they weren't thinking about, I don't think that they were thinking about fans. I don't think they were thinking about the actors or anything like that. They went back into this world and created something new. So the Audrey scene, there's no alternate agendas to, I'm going to stick it to this person or this or that. This is the story that they created, and how they've edited it and how the scenes have been placed. Yes, it is frustrating, but when you remember that they were holed up in a room doing this by themselves, and this is the art that they created, and we're looking at a puzzle that has 18 pieces, and we've only seen 12 of these pieces. We can't properly see the picture yet. There still could be, it could just be like a greenscape, but in the corner, these last few bits, there's a volcano or something. We have no idea. But I'm remaining confident because when you get episodes like 7, 9, and 11 that just completely blow everything out of the water, the pacing is fast, it's efficient, there's a lot of information given, all that kind of stuff. As soon as those things happen, then when we get episodes like 12 where there are, stretched out scenes that a couple of them are just ridiculous, I'm okay with that. They're taking a breather, and then they'll hit us again, and then they'll take another breather, then they'll hit us again. So I'm confident, I'm slightly frustrated, I'm extremely happy, and I can't wait for,
I think, one of the biggest
the end
issues, and it doesn't bother me per se, but it is something I just notice, and that is almost every storyline is individual and separate from the other storylines, whereas in the original series, the stories crisscrossed. Now, I understand we're in New York, we're in Vegas, and Rancho Rosa, and Twin Peaks, but even the Twin Peaks storylines, I mean, yeah, when we do crisscross, it's like several episodes later. There is not a feeling of community. It's just Ben Horn in his office. We've never even seen the Great Northern Hotel. It's just Ben Horn in his office, or Dougie at home, or everybody just has their own isolated scenes. But see, that's the thing, is that is what Frost and Lynch did in their writing, because when you choose to tell a story where none of the actors know anything other than their own scenes, right, or their own dialogue, then you can't have scenes and dialogue that are referencing the other storylines.
Which would be incredibly frustrating for an actor, I would think, because you can't properly delve into what it is that they're doing because there's no context. And it shows how great these actors are, because we know that they have no context to what they're doing, and they're all doing such a fantastic job.
And we'll talk about Richard Beamer tonight in tonight's episode. I got to tell you, he's had 25 years off from playing this character. He wasn't even in Firewalk with me. And he just walks back in and he's Ben Horn again. I mean, there's not even like, oh, it's Richard Beamer trying to be Ben Horn. Like, he just was Ben Horn. There's other actors. I mean, listen, I love Sherilyn Fenn, but it seemed like she was struggling in that scene a little bit to be Audrey in any, even if it was Audrey older, it seemed like she had forgotten how to be that character a little bit, because some of those lines, they're kind of corny lines, but it almost seemed at times like her performance was high school level. And I don't mean that to be mean. I'm just saying that they're I don't know. Some actors are more naturalistic in the performances they're given. And I really hope it pays off in the Audrey stuff, where I can go back and watch it and be like, oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense why that was. But you know what? Listen, you said it was a puzzle, and it is a puzzle. I absolutely agree with you. However, I don't think you can use it as an excuse. And again, I'm saying this as a fan, huge fan of this series, but I'm saying when can you stop as a fan using the excuse, well, retroactively it's going to make sense? Like, come on, we're 12 hours into this thing. By now we should be moving forward, not still telling people stick with it, because after you see episode 15, episode 12 will make sense. Like, shouldn't 12 just make sense? I mean, to the best of its ability. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Exactly.
You didn't have to. Yes, when you watch the original series, you could go back and watch it and be like, "Oh, I see that." But each scene that you did not feel in the original series, like, "Oh, you know what? I got to go back and rewatch this in the context of this." You understood it as it went on, and then when you went back and watched it, you saw more levels. Whereas this, there's levels, but you almost feel like when you're watching it, you're already watching level 5, right? And so you have to go back to watch levels 1 through 4 and then levels 6 through 10, right? They're not giving us level 1 and then making us realize there's more layers underneath. They're just giving us the middle. And so I think a lot of times people don't feel like, whereas, see, I feel a lot of the emotion underneath it, but that's because I have an enormous dedication to this mythology, these characters, that type of thing. But if you are just a casual fan, if you are even still watching this thing, like even if you were like a diehard original fan and then you're watching this thing, I can totally tell, because there's very little music in this show. There's very little just like weight, it's just, everything's just kind of, here's the scene and we're on to the next scene. And then it's like, there's very little ups and downs. It's very, the whole pacing is like this, and just some of it's prolonged and some of it's shorter, but it almost seems at times like it flatlines, and it's up to you to figure out in the flatline what is emotional and what is not emotional to you. and then, but I think this episode, and does kind of bring in some emotion, the stuff with Carl Rod and things like that. I mean, that's great. But it's not like the original series had the ups and downs. You had the James and Donna stuff, and then you had the Bob stuff, and then you had the Truman Josie stuff. And, this is very much like, we have Dougie, we have Jerry in the woods. It's very much like, I don't know. It doesn't bother me, but I can see why it would bother some people. That's all. And before we start this watch along, which I'm sure people are already shouting, just start the watch along. That's why we watch it. But it's good to talk about this kind of stuff before we watch it, because there's not enough time. I mean, there's plenty of time in the Audrey scene, but there's not enough time to talk about some of these things during the episode, because things do kind of move quicker. And I mean, that Dougie's scene is so fast in this episode, we can't even say anything about it in time. But yeah, it's interesting because a few episodes ago, you and we really liked the episode, but we got really kind of disappointed just because it didn't live up to the title that we thought Laura's the one, etc. And we got a lot of crap for it. I mean, a lot. I mean, there was a lot of people staying up for it and that type of thing. And there was a lot of people are staying up for us. And there's other people that were they brought the rain of thunder, declared us, we're not Lynch fans, and, all this other crap. But I got to tell you, episode 12, Let's Rock, an episode that I thought, for the most part, after the initial watch, was a near masterpiece. I'm seeing a lot of people, obviously love it and that type of thing, but I have never seen this much dislike for an hour of David Lynch television. And I sat through Hotel Room and on the air, and let me tell you something, I've never seen the venom until this episode, which is fascinating that so many people turned on it. Do you think if the Audrey scene was not in this, do you think people would have turned on it as much? I don't. I think the Audrey scene is what tipped it over.
Yeah, 100%. Absolutely. Because it wasn't what, people say, oh, I'm not going in with expectation, but you do have expectation, especially when it comes to someone like Audrey. And the fact that they put her in this scenario, put her in this particular scene, the general consensus is that it was a total letdown.
Now, again, like I said, I think on a second watch or whatever, I can deal with it because of the fact of I know what to expect now, and I'm putting my trust in that it's gonna pay off. I guess I'll be one of those insane people that will just say, okay, I'm gonna keep saying that until episode 18 comes out and doesn't. But I'm kidding. I want to believe that there is a purpose to it all. And yet I would feel more confident in the purpose of the Audrey scene if it had been episode 5 that this happened, not 12. Because from her scene all the way until the Roadhouse scene, we got 7 more characters and name pretty much introduced to us. And who knows if they'll ever even show, because we haven't even dealt with the other 5,500 names we've gotten in this series, right? So, I mean, it's interesting. I'm curious to see what's going to happen. Again, I wasn't turned off by the Audrey scene by what it was depicting. I was turned off more by, honestly, it felt like the incompetence of the scene. I felt like it was awkward. I thought the writing was terrible. I thought she was not very good. I thought that the direction, the 4 shots they used, it was like 2 close-ups and 2 long shots, kind of dull and boring. And I felt like Lynch was smoking a cigarette outside while they filmed it. Like it didn't feel like it had any of his charm, or like this, Audrey Horne is a character he really cared about. But then again, he completely wrote her out of Fire Walk with Me. I mean, yes, I understand Sherilyn Fenn was busy doing other stuff, but he incorporated Maura Kelly in as Donna Hayward. I mean, he could have cast another actress to play Audrey, but he just was like, oh, okay, no Audrey. So interesting. I mean, obviously she went on to do Boxing Lane and all that kind of stuff. But I mean, what about those fans? I know you were kind of saying poo-pooing this, but I mean, what about those fans that do think that Lynch kind of had a vendetta against Sherilyn Fenn? Because I mean, she did kind of come out on social media and go a little bonkers, the fact that she didn't like the role at first, or she wasn't happy with it.
But where is that in the timeline of events? Was it after she had shot her scenes, or like had she met with them? Were they in post? Like where's the context of that? I mean, obviously, if
I think it was after she
her,
got her scene. I don't think she had shot it yet.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't want to think that he would be petty like that, but you don't piss off the master either, right? So, I mean,
look, he turned Michael J. Anderson into a talking tree.
Well, yeah, and he turned Audrey Horne into a Looney Tune, who just every second word is the F word, which is not. I mean, obviously, it wasn't like her on the original show, but she didn't present that type of persona to us. She was much more dignified than that. So,
but again, it is 25 years later, and who knows what happened to her. I mean, maybe she's not moving out of that spot because, you know, maybe she doesn't have any legs. Maybe she needs Charlie to push her around. I don't know. But everyone was on pins and needles about, you know, is she Linda? You know, no, obviously she's not. He's calling her Audrey. But just like Ben Horne does not mention Audrey ever in this entire series, Sylvia never mentions Audrey ever. Then we have Audrey not mentioning Richard. Right? And so there's like this purposeful thing of we know that you think that's this, but we're not going to have them mention this. And so again, it's like you're getting these things filled in, but not really. You know, it's like the elephant in the room is not being discussed. And it's making people frustrated, which again, I've heard people say, well, Lynch intends to do this. This is what he's, intending to do. And then I've other people say to me, yeah, well, just because you intend to do something and you pull it off and you may be successful in that does not mean that it's entertaining for audiences.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's almost like, is Lynch going to pay this off, which I believe he will still.
Yeah, I do too. Yeah.
Or is he deliberately doing an experiment how to not satisfactorily pay off his audience and make them sit through 18 hours?
Well, if that was true, I mean, the proof of that would be Dougie, because he's taken Agent Cooper and turned him into a vegetable for a very, very long time. And that's just, I mean, when it first started, it just seemed cruel. It's like, okay, why would you do this? Why would you do this to Kyle? You love Kyle. Why would you do this to Cooper too? That you've comatosed him and he can't even walk properly. So I don't know.
But Dougie grew on people. Dougie grew on people.
I love Dougie now, but I sure didn't at the beginning.
But
I did question, like, what is going on here?
And I love Dougie too, but I will say that it's now time to, if we're gonna deal with Cooper and this Lodge stuff, we got to drop the Dougie stuff as much as possible now and move forward. If he's gonna be Dougie until the very end, fine, I get it. But I mean, a lot of people are thinking he's gonna come back as Cooper in 15 because he went in as Dougie in episode 3, so it'd be 3:15. Ha ha ha.
That's pretty smart, actually. I like that.
But then again, all the rumors was that he was coming back at the end of part 12. And the whole thing with Let's Rock and all that. I mean, I'd heard that from the Twin Peaks Festival. People were saying, we're hearing that Cooper's coming back at part 12. Again, I went in with no expectations, so it is what it is. Me too. But at the same time, though, I love Dougie, but I was kind of hoping. Because at the end of the previous episode, when he was having dinner with the Mitchum brothers, I thought we were getting there. I thought we were almost there.
We were so close.
Yeah. I agree. So yeah, this is an interesting, amazing, fantastic, frustrating, crazy journey we've all gone on, and I gotta tell you, if they stick the landing, if they really do pull it together as much as possible, then yes, obviously I think Kyle will be nominated for awards and that type of stuff. If it completely does not deliver on that and fans just listen, even if this thing completely like doesn't do anything, right? It just ends exactly where it is now. He's just Dougie forever. Laura disappeared in the lodge. We don't know where she went. And the show just ends with a woodsman just standing there, you know, who you know. There's going to be, no matter what, several people on the internet saying this is a masterpiece of defying expectations and blah, blah, blah. And there's going to be other people out there going, this was a colossal waste of time. I mean, that's, you know, but if they don't stick the landing, you can kiss any awards goodbye. You know, I was thinking the other day that wouldn't it have been great if they just, I think there's going to be more stuff, obviously, with the Woodsman, but I think it would have been great if part 18 was episode 8 and that the end of the series was just the Woodsman walking off into the darkness and you hearing the horse whinny, and that was the end of the series. Yeah. That would have been amazingly creepy.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I would have, it's kind of like, I'm just going to throw Buffy in there for a second, but it's like at the end of season 4, where the second to last episode, they wrap up all the, you know, the big bad is killed and all this stuff. And then they have their, well, Joss Whedon's David Lynch episode that has nothing to do with anything, really.
But it does.
It does, but it doesn't. It didn't have anything to do with the leading up story because that was already taken care of. And then there's just this art piece. That's what it would have reminded me of, but even that, I would have been fine with that.
But even that art piece, which is called Restless, it still, you still could follow it.
Well, yeah.
it wasn't part 8, and I don't mean I just meant like you could still like understand context to it and everything. It wasn't like its own standalone thing. So, all right, Mandy, let's start this watch long before we drive everybody on the internet bonkers. You know. Just let me know when the watch along starts. Put it in the description. No, you guys, the whole point is going through this journey with us all and discussing this whole topic before we go in, so you know where we kind of stand and you know, moving forward here. So while you're getting ready for it, I have to just ask you just real quick. I told you that I thought the episode was a near masterpiece. I was really with it. Those last like 15-20 minutes, I felt like it kind of came to a crashing halt. That was after the first watch. The second watch, I went back and looked at it. I didn't feel that quite so much because I knew what to expect, right? Mm-hmm. Your initial watch, real quick, what was your initial things of this episode? You were with it too, and then you weren't with it, or how was it?
I wasn't as passionate about it as you were. I'm obsessed with Sarah, so anything to do with Sarah and all that kind of stuff. Again, it's the old school stuff. I loved it. But the Albert, well, all the Cole stuff being dragged out as long as it was, I was getting really frustrated. Then Audrey happened, and I was like, okay, I'm done for today. And I liked it better the second time around. Like I'm at a solid 7 out of 10. The second time around, so we'll try to bump it up to 8 tonight. All right,
let's get going, Mandy. And all right, so I'm gonna hit play. I'm watching this on the Showtime streaming. If you guys are following along here, we're gonna start in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Hit play. You know what I don't like is that before the episodes air, I don't know if they do it up in Canada, but where they air here, they say, you know, the following episode contains violence, language, you know, whatever. So yeah, they kind of tip you off as to what's going to be in the episode, which is kind of a bummer. All right, so it says Showtime presents right now.
Okay.
And Rancho Rosa in red and pink. That's kind of scared me. Then it goes black and white like right afterwards in the last frame or so.
Yeah, I got excited with that because I was like, I mean, obviously, I went colorblind for a second, but I was like, oh, are they going back to episode 3 room, like into the purple room? I was so excited. There are a couple of times in this episode where I kind of freaked out a little bit, thinking something was going to happen, and then it was not it at all. But um, it's still fun to you pay really close attention when you watch these things. You can't just casually watch it.
True, and
So.
and I'm almost nervous that they're going to start throwing in subliminal stuff into these opening credits. Because
that would be horrible.
Well, because I keep worrying that one day it's not going to be Laura and the orb coming at us at the beginning of the credits. It's going to be, Kyle or somebody stuck somewhere.
Yeah. There were some really exciting parts at the beginning of this show. I love the first scene.
Yes.
And they mentioned Chet Desmond, and I screamed a little bit. I was so excited.
Well, yes. And what's really incredible about it, because we're getting to this moment right here with Gordon, Albert, and Tammy. And are they drinking Kyle MacLachlan's wine? I don't know.
Oh my gosh. That would be hilarious.
But listen, this scene, okay, well, I have no idea what Gordon's doing here with this flashlight. Is he like looking for Diane or something? I don't know. But
that's a flashlight?
I don't know what it is.
Oh.
Maybe. Anyway, one is, okay, let's just probably be honest here. Mark Frost wrote this scene, right? So this is Mark Frost trying to make the blue rose make sense in Fire Walk With Me. One, I couldn't believe that Lynch allowed the blue rose to be answered, right? Because that was something he was deliberately not wanting to answer in Fire Walk With Me. What's the blue rose? I can't tell you about that, Sam, right? But they bring the blue rose in. They answer what the blue rose is satisfactorily, right? Again.
And very quickly, too.
Right. But they also bring in Project Blue Book, which, of course, is what Major Briggs and the Wyndham Earl storyline was all about in the second half of season 2. And what's really funny is they pretty much turn this into saying that they were the original X-Files. We were a special unit forced to, look into these mysteries that no one else could explain. And I'm the only one left that, of this original group. Yeah. But bringing in Philip Jeffries, but obviously when you watch Fire Walk With Me, Cooper he didn't know Philip Jeffries because Gordon says you may have heard of him from the Academy.
Yeah.
So Philip Jeffries had been missing for a while. And obviously bringing Chet Desmond, which is great. But one thing I wrote down on my notes when I was originally watching this, I was thinking, okay, well, I hope they don't break continuity because Diane obviously knows about the Blue Rose cases because in Fire Walk With Me, Cooper says this is one of Cole's Blue Rose cases. And then they bring her in and they bring that up. And I was like, see, this is why you have Mark Frost writing the script. Because Lynch, I love the man to pieces, but Lynch is not going to make sure the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed.
Yeah, exactly.
And Frost is. And listen, I know Fire Walk With Me is a very divisive film. It was hated and then now it's loved. But I think this scene strengthens Fire Walk With Me in that opening part with the Blue Rose.
Yeah.
And so naysayers of Fire Walk With Me, this completely redeems that whole section if you were down on that section.
Yeah.
Because
I agree.
Because now you can go back and watch that section of Fire Walk With Me, and now it makes logical sense. Even if you look at it from a surrealistic point of view, it now makes more logic, and it's just wonderful.
Yeah.
And honestly, Christabel, have to say
she was awesome.
It's the best part of her playing Tammy so far.
Yeah, she did. She's getting better and better as the show progresses. So I kind of like her now. Like she's growing on me. I don't want to see anything bad happen to her, and I like how genuinely shocked and surprised and excited she is by this. And I'm excited to see what they do with that. So
Yeah, and Gordon seems so happy of come on into this little group, this elite group, and but I'm still convinced that Gordon and Tammy had a fling or something at some point.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
She looks at him a little too adoringly for that. All right, so Laura Dern comes in, and obviously they bring up the Blue Rose to her, and they say, you know, will you help us? We're going to deputize you. And, you know, she's like, what's in it for me? Obviously, I kind of looked at this as like, you know, keep your friends close, your enemies closer type of thing. But when she throws out, so in Fire Walk with Me, you hear this huge like sound effect, and then you see "Let's Rock" on Chet Desmond's car written.
Yep.
And in this show, you hear the same sound effect, and then right when you would have seen the car, Laura Dern says "Let's Rock."
Yeah.
It's very cool.
This whole episode is all like Fire Walk with Me music.
Yes.
It's crazy.
Yeah, and sound effects and that type of thing. Especially when Sarah Palmer's in the store.
Yeah. I was like, oh, this is the convenience store music. It was right?
No, it was the Laura murder music when the one-armed man's running through the woods. And they're showing the mirror, and Laura's turning into Bob.
Okay.
Yeah.
But that makes it even worse.
But I love I love the red drapes behind Gordon. It's very cool. And you see these episodes, and you can't believe Miguel Ferrer is no longer with us. He's so great as Albert.
I wish he could have seen this to know how big of, well, I'm sure he knew how big of a role he had in it, obviously, but how it was pieced together, and just like, I mean, there's no one like him. And that was, there's those fingers. Let's rock. That was so cheesy.
And
do you think Tammy knows that they're trying to set up Diane?
I don't know. And I don't know why Jerry Horn is running through the field. I'm glad to see that he didn't cut off his foot though, and he can still like move.
Yeah.
And I'm also happy he's out of the woods.
Yeah.
With that.
And really, what is happening? Like, is he being chased by, not chased, but what is he seeing? What is making him crazy? Is he really just high, or is something actually happening to him?
Right. All right. So now we get the shot from the teaser, Sarah in the convenience store. One thing I really like the fact is it is a grocery store, but it is kind of a smaller grocery store. So the fact that she's in a convenience store and this happening, and she's talking about the men are coming, and
the room looks different.
Right. Exactly. And when she starts screaming about something happened to me, I'm wondering, is she referring to that, I'm in the Black Lodge with Dale Cooper? Or is she referring, I mean, I know people are saying they're Ecuadorian or Mexican or whatever, but maybe she had a frog moth climb into her mouth. That's what I'm worried about.
I'm not going to touch the frog moth thing. I don't ever want to think about the frog moth again.
So these two clerks are like my heroes in this episode. The boy is just legitimately goofy. And if Lynch had said to me, "What role do you want to play?" I would have picked the bagger boy. And I love this girl here after she leaves, and when she's like, "What?" I mean, talk about just nailing your line,
Yeah. I paused the close-up shot of the jerky. I walked right up to my very large TV, and I was trying to find something in that jerky, and I almost thought I saw like a room with a sofa at one point. I'm like, nope, it's just jerky. Yeah.
Well, some people are, they're scratching the bottom of the barrel by saying, "See, it's turkey." It's like Laura saying, "I'm a turkey in the corn." No.
Oh my gosh, no. It's jerky. Wow.
Now, some people have said if Sarah Palmer was this kind of, wacky, that why does the outside of the house look so good? Maybe the Palmer house should have looked a little more forgotten over the last 25 years.
It actually doesn't. The house looks horrible in this shot.
Oh, okay.
They oh, sorry. In my opinion, I think the house looks horrible. The resolution is low. It's not as bright and colorful as it normally is. I was like, wow, that's a terrible shot of that house, because the house is beautiful.
See, she's like, something happened to me. Something happened to me. I'm telling you, a frog moth climbed into her head.
I don't feel good.
Listen. Grace,
and then she's all third
Zabriskie
person, and
is amazing. But I wish she could just have another normal role again.
Mm-hmm.
She's been playing wacky for 30 years now in all these movies and TV shows, and I really wanted to see what she was referring to in that Between Two Worlds segment, where she's like, I put on my happy face for people. We certainly don't see her out in public ever. This is only the second time in the entire new series we've seen her in.
Mm-hmm.
Now when this boy says, I can deliver him, do you think he's being tied up and killed in the kitchen?
I don't know. I mean, no, I don't. I can't see her being a murderer, but I could see like Mr. C in the kitchen.
Right, and maybe that's why the fan is going. Well,
yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Like, the fan in the Palmer house does not go on without something actually happening. It's not that she's hot. It's significant.
And it's usually because Bob is coming.
Yeah.
Or Bob is there.
Yeah.
Now, listen, I don't know what the purpose of this scene is, except just to make my heart feel real good. Of Carl basically telling this guy, you don't need to sell blood to eat. I'm gonna, you don't have to pay me rent this month. This is a great, wonderful character scene, and I absolutely love it. Mm-hmm. Love it. I think it's wonderful. It's great. It's so touching. It's the kind of stuff that Lynch can do. When you watch the straight story, it's just incredibly moving and wonderful.
Yeah.
However, in part 12, this is something maybe you like if this had been Carl's introduction before the boy was hit with the car, I think this is a proper way to introduce Carl Roth.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But in part 12, I can see some people going, why is this scene coming in part 12? Maybe if it was like, part 4, part 5, I get it, And in fact, now that I think about it, this really should have been Carl's introduction as opposed to just him getting in a truck and driving into town and having coffee, that what a great way to bring in Harry Dean Stanton into this new series. Okay, so here comes the Dougie, Sonny Jim scene, the only scene that Kyle is in this hour of television,
which really surprised me that they just threw him in here for 20 seconds and then that was it.
Well, again, these episodes are not created to be they weren't written to be episodes. It was episodes, so they didn't quite know where was what. But now this is one of my favorite scenes of the whole episode. You bring in the Laura theme, obviously. Some people will be like, see, all you wanted was the original Twin Peaks back. You don't want the new series. No, I love the new series. I'm just saying I do love it when Lynch is able to go back and recreate the mood and feel that made us fall in love with the show in the first place.
Yeah, 100%. See, look at the grass next compared to the next door neighbors.
Okay. Oh yeah, that's true. Okay.
And there's no flowers. Oh, the flowers are dead.
Okay, I take it back. It just because the house still looks nice to me. So but it's weird. It's like everything's on lockdown. You're all they got the tripods out and everything's on lockdown. The moment you see the fan, then Hawk becomes handheld. It's like now things are uneasy. And then when Sarah opens the door, see, I think this is just this is where I start going crazy watching the episode, because Grace Zabriskie is just this is Sarah actually interacting with somebody from the show Twin Peaks, not a convenience store clerk.
Yeah.
And when she's like, Hawk, the last time she kind of saw Hawk, he was rummaging through her daughter's bedroom going, do you have the key for this diary, sir? She doesn't have good feelings when it comes to Hawk. Anytime Hawk comes around, her family gets destroyed. But I love this scene because he is so chipper and trying to be like, listen, we're here for you. You know, we care about you. We're worried about you. And she's like, basically, F off.
Yeah. Well, he knows how to proceed with caution.
Is somebody in the house? And she's like, no, just something in the kitchen. See, that's why I'm saying it might be Mr. C, because she may not refer to him as a human being.
Mm-hmm.
See, Hawk
There's
needs
something happening.
and see, when she says it's a goddamn bad story, isn't it, Hawk? I'm worried that there's a lot of Twin Peaks people out there going, yeah, this whole series is a bad story.
Oh. No one can contort their face the way that Grace can either, though. Like, she can be absolutely terrifying.
Yeah, this is my favorite, though, where she's just like, yeah, thanks, Hawk. And just slams the door in his face. Yeah. Yes, that is amazing. Amazing. Okay, now we get this shot from, is this I think this is season 2 shot from the hospital.
The opener.
Now, when they were panning up the bed, I gotta tell you, I thought this was gonna be the Audrey reveal. Didn't you?
I screamed. I was like, "It's Audrey!" And my friend was sitting there, and I was like, "Oops, sorry, I overreacted." And I was like, "Oh, right, there's Miriam." Yeah, I totally thought that was gonna be Audrey. Well,
because you buy into, the theories going around online that she's still in a coma out there, and I'm like, Audrey's not gonna be in a coma 25 years later. I mean.
But that's the thing. But see, you too. You were like, "Oh my gosh, it's Audrey."
Well, because because when you hear something enough times, you're thinking, well, maybe it's true.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, what do you think all this is about? They haven't asked yet. I honestly think it's the doppelganger asking her, are they wanting to come to Vegas yet and look for Dougie or a Rancho Rosa or something? And she's like, no, I don't think she understands. No idea. Yeah, I don't think she understands the reason for it, but I have a feeling we're coming to a situation where everyone's going to be meeting at the same coordinates at the same time.
Well, I mean, next episode should be the next day, right?
Right.
So, because we're in the evening now, so maybe we got into October 1st yet, or at least by 14. So. This was such a great scene.
Yes. Listen, we've sung the praises of Robert Forster on this podcast. We've sung the praises of Richard Beamer. But again, this is what I love. They don't skirt around the issue. They bring up Harry.
Yep. Again.
Yeah, they're not sweeping Michael Onking's character under the rug. Almost all the time, Frank is in there saying, I'm not Harry. I'm trying to carry on my brother's legacy, though. Mm-hmm. And I love that. He's not trying to be Harry Truman.
No.
And that's why I think the fans love it. Yeah. Because if he was playing...
But there's nothing to hate.
Right.
There's nothing to hate.
What I'm saying, though, is if he was playing Harry Truman right now, right, you would be looking at this performance very differently. Like, well, this isn't the way Michael Onking would have played this role.
Yeah.
But again, by making him the brother, it relieves...
It was a great move.
Yeah, there's just... no criticism you can do to it. Richard Beamer here, the way he just kind of sits back in his chair and closes his eyes, and it's God. You never for a second think to yourself, he's had to work his way and try to be Ben Horn again. He looks like he's been Ben Horn for 30 years. We just happen to pop the camera back on him. And
he's so smooth.
But I love the fact that he's still, as far as we know, again, we're part 12 though. He's still good Ben Horn.
Yeah.
He's not wheeling and dealing, scheming and running one-eyed jacks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Doesn't look like
he seems to be decent.
And he doesn't seem like he's had any life.
Yeah.
Maybe he isolates himself in this room because he's afraid if he goes out into the world, he'll become that Ben Horn again. So he just kind of stays here.
Or, I mean, we don't know how Richard grew up. If Ben, for whatever reason, had to take care of him or something, and he was a little jerk like he is, maybe that just wore him out too. And he needs any chance of solitude that he gets from the last 20 years of looking after this rotten kid. So I don't know.
Yeah.
But I'm convinced more and more. Well, no, I just have a thought more and more that Harry is in a mental institution.
Really?
I feel like he's not battling cancer or anything like that. I feel like he's in and my friend Andrew had brought this up too, that he's either like maybe he's in rehab or he's in a mental institute, because when Frank calls him a few episodes back, it's like he's talking to someone. He has to get permission in order to talk to Harry. If you're in the hospital, you usually have a phone next to you. But if you're not if you're segregated or in a room or something like that, I don't know. I feel like it's a mental thing. It's not a physical ailment. But who knows?
So they don't mention Audrey at all when discussing Richard. Like Frank doesn't ever say, well, where's his mother? Oh,
Yeah.
Audrey, we don't get any of that confirmation or anything. So I have to ask you right now. I mean, obviously we don't know, but why do you think Frost and Lynch are deliberately leaving Audrey's name out of this whole situation?
I can't even begin to think. I mean, if a random fan theory is that she's in a mental institution, then I can see that they would have shut her off. She would have been completely out of the equation.
But Frank would ask about her. Maybe in the Horn family they wouldn't talk about her, but Frank would be the outsider, would bring some,
Well, yeah, because he's kind, so he would even be like, "How? Like, are you saying like, how's Audrey?" kind of thing?
Yeah, or just like, does his mother know that that he's been getting in trouble lately? Just something like that.
But yet they make a point of saying that Richard never had a father.
Right.
So what they've done with Audrey in general, implying or the implications and not so it's or showing her, it's been very unusual.
But do you think that they're implying that it was the doppelganger who did this to her, and maybe that's why they don't mention it, because maybe that's why Richard Horn yeah, Ben Horn is giving the key to Frank because he doesn't want to think about Cooper.
I did not get that impression.
Okay.
I really saw that just as Ben being a nice person and knowing that Harry was best friends with Cooper. And why the hell would he want this old key? Like, hey, I'll give it to Looney Tune Harry. Maybe that will help him feel better.
Right.
So,
but see here, Frank's out of the room. This in the old Twin Peaks, this would have been the Ben Horn turnaround of him, like, my grandson did this, and then pops the cigar in his mouth, and we're gonna call Hank and take care of this right away, and that type of thing. But no, he just still stays in his chair, and he's upset, and he tells a story about a bicycle and as dad gave him, and then it makes Ashley Judd cry. So again, he's not the Ben Horn of old that would turn a situation and for his own scheming purposes. I mean, one of the first things we see in this new series is the burned down sawmill. And he's the one responsible for that. I mean, I know Leo Johnson actually gassed it up, but he's the one that paid Leo to do it. And now, I mean, I don't know. You know what, though? I know people were down on a lot of things in this episode, but I couldn't believe that this was one of the things they were down on. I saw a lot of people online screaming about Ben Horn's bicycle speech. And I didn't understand why. I thought people would have loved this.
It's a typical Ben rant about random things. He used to do that a lot. So
right, even in the original series, there's a scene of him watching old home movies of his family.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
I don't know. I listen. The more Richard Beamer, Ben Horn scenes, the better, in my opinion. At least we're in Twin Peaks, right?
exactly.
But
he doesn't seem to be too concerned about Jerry. He's just kind of like, oh, well, crazy Jerry is out in the woods or blabbing on about something. Like,
Jerry always came and went in the original series.
Yeah, I guess.
Shows up with Helga and a leg of lamb,
Yeah.
I don't think he's...
And a cheese pig.
Exactly. I'm almost... Listen, I don't have any knowledge about this, but maybe... Is Richard Beamer, like... has a hard time walking or something because he's always at this desk.
I don't know.
They don't, there's one thing I noticed in this episode.
Oh no, because they were walking around the room.
Oh, okay.
Listening to the humming.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I was thinking about part 1 where Ben, Ben Horn's still sitting at his desk when Jerry's sitting down and stuff like that. So, yeah. All right. So here comes this weird scene that seems.
A scene that never ends.
You know what though? Yeah. I mean, it's almost like this scene almost was more frustrating than the Audrey scene in some ways. Some people thought that this girl looked exactly like Isabella Rossellini. I didn't really think that until she stands at the doorway in the Perdita Durango Wild at Heart pose.
Yeah, right.
That's when I was like, okay, Lynch, I know you're bringing everything of your career into this thing, but so what do you think about this idea of are you getting the implication that Gordon is hooking up with prostitutes?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I like how David
or high fashion, or high, escorts, like not hookers, but like, madams and fancy ladies and stuff. But yeah, this chick, I just wanted to punch her in the face, like, get out of the room.
Well, it's a little just overacted, but it's, I know it's supposed to be for comical effects. And of course she's speaking French, which of course reminds you of season 2 where he tells Cooper, that's the kind of girl that makes you wish she spoke a little French.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just, and they don't, and Albert, I understand, like, he's supposed to be the comical thing about it. It's like, oh, come on, get on with it. And I mean, this scene is designed for one purpose and one purpose only. It's to drive people insane.
Well, it's Lynch comedy. He probably watched this and thought it was the most hilarious thing he's ever seen. Because he likes weird stuff like this.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's, in the summer of '92, he released Fire Walk with Me and On the Air. And you can't, you know what I mean? It's the same person doing both.
Yeah.
Just insane comedy and then, really dark, disturbing films. Some people would, I've heard people say, why is the FBI doing, Bill Hastings just died the other day. They had someone died in their custody, and now Gordon's sitting here with this woman as she puts on her lipstick and drinks the wine, and it's there's the FBI doesn't seem to really like want to solve anything.
Yeah, I don't get them. I don't get them at all.
I don't know. I mean, yeah, I see the point of the scene. I understand the humor of it, et cetera. But listen, I'm not gonna say that I don't understand people's frustrations with, like, listen, we could have gotten the same scene maybe, a minute and a half shorter.
Yeah.
So,
it's going back to the thing that I've said before. It's like, we don't have time for this. We got things to do here. I don't care about this woman.
Remember, this is David Lynch, who in the final episode, when we wanted to see a big showdown between Cooper and Wyndham Earle, he gave us 5 minutes of an old man walking across a bank.
Yeah, I remember.
So that's the thing. And like, what do you think the last hour is going to be like in this series? I mean, people are going to be going crazy. Like, we only have 53 minutes. How is he going to do this? And then the answer is he probably won't.
Yeah. Well, even like in the finale too, when Truman and Andy are just sitting on the log there, and I'm like, I don't care about pie. Andy, you're very nice. Shut up. I don't care.
Can we go back in and hear about the sycamore trees again?
Yeah, right.
Now, I have to say this. I think the chemistry, obviously, between David Lynch and Miguel Ferrer is great.
Perfect,
And what people seem to forget is that they never had a scene together in the original series. Only in that one Philip Jeffries moment in Fire Walk with Me were they ever in the same room together.
Yeah.
So this is the only time, really, in the entire history of Twin Peaks that we've had Gordon and Albert. I mean, this is basically the Gordon and Albert show.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's no other team members. I mean, yeah, Tammy's there, but I'm just saying, like, they're the two of the original team left.
Yeah.
Are you surprised? And again, I'm not saying this is a negative, but are you surprised how much screen time David Lynch, wrote for himself in this new series? I mean, there's a lot of this show that rests on his performance.
Yeah, absolutely. I didn't expect it because I thought he was more shy than that. So I don't know if he just had this weird awakening where he's like, "Hey, I want to be an actor." And then he's in that Lucky movie that John Carroll Lynch directed and stuff. And um
I mean,
it's odd, but I like it. I
yeah, no,
love it.
yeah, it's great. I'm just saying that, like, I mean, he's had a role on Louis for a while and stuff like that. So I think maybe he's just gotten used to acting a little bit more, so he felt like he could do it. Whereas I think when the original series came on, I couldn't imagine David Lynch giving himself a role this big in the original series.
Yes, yeah. Maybe he was a lot more awkward in the original series too, because you knew that was David Lynch director being an actor for a couple of minutes. And it's way more seamless in this.
Mm-hmm.
And I think too it shows the love that he had for Miguel Ferrer too, that he put himself with him. That they're partners in this, so he got to be with him and maybe learn from him. I don't know, but I love that he did that for them.
And I love, like, at the end of that scene where, I mean, people think it's a funny moment where he's like, "Albert, I worry about you," but before that, there's something really touching when Gordon looks into Albert's eyes and Albert looks back at him. Like, you feel like they're communicating wordlessly about I don't know what, but they're communicating.
Yeah.
And
the turnip joke was hilarious. I love the turnip joke.
So here we have Hutch and Chantel about to kill the warden, and of course Chantel still has her potato chips with her, but now she wants Wendy's. And I just have to give a shout out to a viewer, Philip Acker, who listened to Hal and my podcast a few days ago, where I said, someone should make the greatest Wendy's commercial of all time with these two, and he did it. So I'll post that in the show notes. I thought it was absolutely hilarious and fantastic because even found a Wendy's commercial that referenced an owl.
Yeah, that was ridiculous. I was like, how did he find this? It's so good.
Yeah. Oh. And again, I love the fact that, okay, they shoot the warden, but then Lynch just doesn't leave it like that. He has the kid come out and dad, gives it, I don't know. It's kind of the opposite of the boy that gets hit earlier in the season. Also makes me worry that, like, someone's going to shoot Dougie and that's going to be Sonny Jim's reaction. Because after they take out the warden, they're supposed to go to Vegas and take out Dougie.
They never said that it was going to be Dougie, but we assume so. But they said he's got a double header, which to me, I was thinking more like Jamie E. and Sonny Jim. Like, could he actually be needing Dougie to be kidnapped? Do they have to do some sort of, ritual where they come together or something like that so that he can, absorb him or something so that Cooper could never come back? I don't know. But yeah, that was terribly sad.
But why does the doppelganger need them taken care of? Because Dougie has already been taken into the lodge, That's what I don't get.
Yeah, I don't know.
All right, so let me ask you this, because I can't remember and I haven't had time to go back. Is the answer? Is this
yes.
the same scene?
Completely.
No,
it's an extended scene. The first part of it, Nadine is wearing the same shirt. Right. She's drinking from the same cup, and then it just goes a little bit further after that. And I was like, are we in some weird time continuum here where days are jumping backwards and stuff?
No, but I'm saying this is the same speech.
The beginning is.
Really?
As far as I know, the beginning is the same.
Okay.
Because it's like his intro.
Right. It's his intro, but it's not the same shot, is it?
Yeah.
I mean, I remember her wearing that outfit, and we haven't seen her outside of, outside of her shop. But I mean, like, they're showing the commercial again. So let me ask you, what's the point?
Differently.
Right, of course it is, because we just saw the whole commercial. What do you think the purpose of this is? I mean, I understand, Lynch likes to, do repetition and that kind of thing. Like, hello, I mean, I don't know.
But there's always reason for it, and this is the second scene in the series that has been repeated when it's very obvious that it's been repeated. And the first time was with the 119 woman. She was saying that in one episode. The next time you see her, she's passed out in the chair drooling. And then when the cops are outside getting the car off the roof, they flash back to her it's the exact same shot. And I didn't understand that. But also, when you were like, how did it take them a day to deal with this car? If there's a time jump, then that would make sense as to why they're re-showing the scene. And that's what I think with this too. Like, the second half of his speech is all like F you, F you. That was obviously not in the first one, but I don't know. It's weird. And maybe I'm totally wrong on the Dr. Ant part, but something weird is happening. I don't think that they're sloppy enough to just reuse scenes because they need a filler.
Right. I like this part where he says treasonous puppets, and then he says the 9th level of hell will welcome you, and then it cuts to Audrey.
Yeah, right.
Okay, so see, I'm okay with this now, but I gotta tell you, on initial viewings, which is what a lot of people are gonna do, a lot of people are only gonna watch this one time. Okay, it's a little abrupt.
Yeah.
And
they are in the same scene.
They are in the same scene.
Yeah.
Unless they did it on the cut, you know what I mean, and blended it. But some people are saying that on the back shot of Sherilyn Fenn that's not her. So I don't know. I don't know what the truth of that is. I do know that
you could just see it though. They panned all the way over to him.
Right, but you can do that. You can do that.
Yeah, I guess. Editing. They brought Frank Silva back. They can cut this scene.
But I do hope that he's like her doctor or something like that, even if he's married to her, because she is kind of displaying like tics of something definitely is like off with her. And I hope it's not just Sherilyn Fenn's performance that just is making me trying to give her excuses. I'm just trying to understand what actor choices she's making here, because if she has no context to draw from, right, then why give her this performance?
I mean, she's not that bad, but I was just more shocked by her dialogue.
Yeah,
because it was very weak. Like, if I'm going to blame anything, I'm going to blame the dialogue for it, because I think she was overacting for the dialogue that she had, but there has to be a purpose for it, because she's very talented. Like,
of course,
I really, really like her. She's fantastic. So I didn't see this as her being like not as great of an actor as I saw it as she was given a really crappy script and had to make the best of it. And if she was actually mad about it, maybe that filtered through a little bit too much. Like in real life, I don't know.
Well, they mentioned this crystal ball thing, and of course, people are showing online that he has this little crystal ball type of thing on his desk, which is kind of funny, over by one of those envelopes.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah, yeah, it's kind of cute. I don't know. Here's the thing: it's very hard to do a 10-minute plus scene on just cut back and forth. You know what I mean? It's one of the longest dialogue set pieces Lynch has done since Hotel Room. And some people would argue even that got boring, because some of those shots and scenes lasted forever. Listen, I understand the point of this scene, but I think the point of this scene could have been done in 5 minutes and not 11. That's all I'm saying. I've seen the 11-minute version now twice. It didn't bother me so much the second time, but I will say this. If there is no further context to Audrey Horne, and this is just Audrey Horne, I'm going to have some issues with it, because it just seems like the writing's off, she's off, It's all off. If there's a legitimate reason to this, like she is just an insane patient or something at a mental institution, then it will make sense. And, you know, again, it's, you know, you can't really judge it until you see the whole thing. But we've had a lot of non-payoffs so far for a lot of stuff, but we've had a lot of payoffs for other stuff too. So you just don't know which category this is going to go into. And because it's Audrey Horne, it's a character that so many fans honestly like think of Twin Peaks. When they think of Twin Peaks, they think of Cooper and they think of Audrey. And if there's a payoff for Cooper but not a payoff for Audrey, or no payoffs for either one of them, you are going to see fan revolts.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know.
Yeah, and that's really why people are so upset and vocal about this, is just because it's so shocking what they've done with her out of nowhere. Like, at least start from her shoes and work her way up. So give us the element of surprise. That's good. Like, oh, there she is. Not just, bam, here's Audrey. And it's like.
But like I said, there's fans out there that will tell you that that was the whole point, that Lynch knew that that's what the fans wanted. So he deliberately subverted expectations and just hard cutted to her.
Yeah. See, I don't buy that. I don't think he gives us that much thought.
But like I said, even if that was his intention and he's successful in that intention, does that make it the correct intention? We will not know that until this whole thing is over. I will say, from watching this episode initially, I would say no, it was not the right intention. Watching it the second time, it didn't bother me quite so much. However, like I said, when this whole thing's over and done with, we'll be able to look at it. If it doesn't build to anything, yes, this scene is going to be singled out as one of the downfalls of the new series. If there's a total payoff for her and it works and everything matches up character wise for her, then yeah, I think it will be fine. But again, you shouldn't have to watch every scene in this new series retroactively to understand it. You should be able to understand it effectively the first time. And if Frost is somebody who can tell you the meaning of the Blue Rose and bring in Project Blue Book and tie everything together and dot the I's and cross the T's, then he should be able to at least pay off Audrey Horne and Dale Cooper, don't you think?
Absolutely. Yeah, like, I mean, they're both brilliant. They need each other to do this. They needed each other to do this project. Neither of them could have done it on their own, because they're a team. This whole thing was created with the both of them. And I trust both of them. I know that good things are going to happen. Am I going to want to make my own fan edit of this 18-hour movie and cut it down to like 4 hours of just like the really cool stuff after? Yeah, absolutely. Because there's a lot of stuff in here that I just feel is not necessary. But
do you think there's just a lot of filler in this thing?
I don't think there's a lot, but there.
Or when you think it's, see, I think when it's all over and done with, you'll be able to watch it and it won't be that way. But right now it kind of feels that way because we're not getting to the important, what we feel are the important elements of this thing, you know?
And they keep throwing little things at us, like Sky Ferrier or whatever her name is.
Yeah.
What was the point of that, apart from grossing me out?
Well, I don't know. I mean, well, maybe, again, it has to do with the drugs in town. I don't know. I mean, some people are saying all those girls at the Roadhouse are all part of, you know, what was his name? Jean-Michel's, girls and stuff like that. I mean, who knows? We won't know. And maybe we don't know. And I'm saying, if we don't know, if it's just the Roadhouse girls and we're just cutting to these boots and there's no payoff at all, even in just, I don't know, something, then that's going to be considered filler and a complete waste of time. And again, some people have gotten on me going, "Oh, you just want plot, plot, plot." No, I don't. But I want to see kind of the Lynch that I fell in love with, which was plot and character and realism and surrealism merged together, not like, 20 minutes of awesomeness, 15 minutes of just okay, and then back to, you know what I mean? I like the mixture, not the either or.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah. The fact that, the two longest scenes in all of Twin Peaks were, Senior Droll Cup and then the banker. Those were the two that were like, "Ooh, you're really testing us." But there were only two of those in an entire 30-hour piece, or I guess 31 hours.
Mm.
This show here, there's a number. There's probably at least two hours so far that you could cut out of here completely, because it just doesn't matter.
Well, that we don't
that
know.
we know of.
You don't know that yet.
I know.
But I mean, do you feel? I mean, obviously, this episode did bring about a lot of hostile fan reactions, more than honestly, I was expecting. But the Audrey thing, like I said, I think is the thing that tipped a lot of people over. Do you think that continues next week, or do you think that new week, new attitude, and so they'll go into it fresh? Or when do you think the fans just completely just stop giving a crap? Because I've already had people contact me, several people each week, say to me, I'm done, I'm canceling Showtime. And so many people wrote me just huge emails saying this Audrey scene was the worst for them and they're out.
If you are basing your whole viewing experience of Twin Peaks: The Return, or whatever it is, on one scene with one character from the show, then that's a problem. Because like, don't get mad at me for expecting something big with Laura when you call the episode Laura is the One, but I'm still enjoying all of this, and you want to jump ship because Audrey is being a whiny little creep. You're missing the entire beauty of this entire show. And that's actually really frustrating to hear, that people are jumping ship because of 10 minutes. It doesn't make sense to me.
See, my feeling here is that Charlie is not telling her that Billy died, because we did that push into the house, that's why he didn't get to meet Andy. But it is weird that they're like married supposedly, but they're both aware that they're each cheating on each other and they don't care.
Mm-hmm. Well, no, and Billy was we established that Billy was a goner immediately. As soon as we first saw him, we're like, he's dead. But
the question is, who killed him, Richard or what?
Yeah, and someone else had thought too that that maybe Tina or whoever it was he was talking to was talking about Richard.
Maybe.
And just they flipped it. So, and I mean, is the show going to open next week with them still in that room and she's like, "What's the story, Charlie?" and start freaking out on him? Like, I can kind of see that.
Well, that's what the episode is called.
Yeah.
Wow,
that's Charlie.
You called it. You absolutely called it. That is exactly how the episode is going to be. Why it's called what it is. What's this? It's going to just begin with Audrey saying, "What's the story, Charlie?" And there it is.
Now, help me out with this Diane scene.
Yeah.
She seemingly is trying to read the numbers, but
right.
They keep actually saying the words coordinates, and then she's typing in coordinates. Can you explain that to me?
Because as far as I'm aware of, she looked at the coordinates and memorized. Like I think she looked at the numbers, whatever, and memorized it by. I think it spelled out coordinates by letters. So like the the 3 would have been a C. You know what I mean?
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. And then
in this whole Twin Peaks reveal, I was like, I was not shocked by that.
Well, because we know where they're going before they do.
Mm-hmm.
And we're trying to figure out why they're just sitting in South Dakota for so long. And again, here's another repeat of the tree scene that we talked about in a previous episode of being dark.
Yeah.
So, you're talking about these timelines and this and that and repeated shots. And when does this come together to expose the timeline? We can't wait till the last episode to do it, can we?
I don't know.
They have to deal with it.
I would think so. Because again, I don't think they're going to wait 25 years and be sloppy. The original Twin Peaks, sure, they have cut sequences, like, you know, like the guy with the puddle, the foot in the puddle, which drives me crazy. You know, they had establishing shots for scenes, but they never replayed scenes in that whole show. So,
well, and again, here's the chromatics, still wearing the same clothes they were at the end of part 2. So, yeah, again, it's like, is this Lynch just playing another song he likes, or is he suggesting this is the same night? See, now, what would have been super cool is if in the booth behind these two girls, if it had been Shelley and her friends sitting there. Right? Then you would have known we were on the timeline of part 2.
Or even Charlotte and Jane Levy and them too, like anything. Like those girls as well.
Right.
But yeah, like this is...
I've had some people tell me that this is the modern day Invitation to Love. That every time we cut back to this booth, we're just engaged in someone's little drama, and then we just cut away, and so it's just kind of reflecting the soap opera elements of this whole thing. I don't really buy that. I mean, I guess I can understand that just from like a viewer point of view, and I guess that's part of the fun of it. But I also think that you're kind of trying to justify every little thing in this new series. Wait till it's over and then decide if this was necessary or whether this was just or what.
Yeah. And I think too, people need to actually give themselves permission to not be 100% on board with absolutely everything that's going on in this show. I love Lynch more than anybody I know. I love his work. I love all this stuff. I'm hardcore, all this, whatever. But some of this stuff is really irritating me, and that's okay.
Would you say that, I'm not picking on anybody, but I would say that there's some questionable acting in this series, and, you know, because I mean you're dealing with a lot of big actors, recognizable actors from the past, and a lot of local hires. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, like the scene with when the kid dies and stuff.
Right.
And,
yeah. So here you have Scott Coffey, who has been a staple of Lynch's movies since Lost Highway. He was also in Shag, one of my favorites from the 80s. But if you notice, he shakes his hand very much like Lynch does, but the Cat on a Hot Tin Roof. He also shakes his hand like the people did in the towards the end of season 2. So, you know, I had someone contact me saying, is this going to end like the Woodsmen are going to just infiltrate Twin Peaks and start killing everybody off, and that's going to be the end of the show? This big bloodbath?
Yeah. It's like vampires attack the Bronze or something.
No, it's like maybe Cooper becomes Cooper, and then the Woodsman just cracks his head, and that's the end of the show. Something tells me you won't find that ending satisfactory.
That the Woodsman crack Cooper's head?
Yeah, and that's the end.
You know what, people? Stop theorizing about this show. You're driving me crazy. I can't even handle it. No, Cooper is going to be perfect. He's going to eat cherry pie, and he's going to kiss Annie, and everything's going to be perfect. Yes,
there's no Annie Blackburn. They dumped her off in the men's bathroom with those diary entries.
Oh, jeez.
Oh my, no.
Hey, but you know what? You never know. They introduced 10 new characters tonight. They can bring back Annie.
Yeah. Well,
no, it's crazy.
They did. You know what? Annie didn't show up into the last 6 episodes of the original series. So,
Ooh.
So and we have 6 left. So maybe Annie Blackburn will come in and save the day here.
Oh, jeez.
She's like, my name is Annie. I've been with Laura and Dale. The good Dale is trapped in Dougie Jones' body in Rancho Rosa, and he can't leave. Write it in your diary.
Yeah, right? Oh, my gosh.
That's going to be the end. Laura in bed getting that dream, and then we'll have to wait 25 more years.
Oh, my gosh. I really did like I don't know if you were I guess you were the originator of this thought of, you know, you want Bobby to know about the diary pages and go to Norma and at least have an Annie conversation, you know.
Well, just acknowledgement. I want I want to see are characters learning something about a character and going and talking to another character about that character, so I get a sense of community, not isolated scenes. Right? That's all I want, because that's what was so great about the original series was you felt like at any moment a character from the town could talk to another character in the town about some event, something happening, and it was a sense of community.
Yeah, right? Absolutely.
Whereas this show, and again, it's not a negative because it's a definitely like this was their intention, which it was to isolate everybody. But you have to ask yourself when, was that the right choice to make? We won't know until this whole thing's over, or whether, I mean, it's a deliberate choice, and if you make it, you gotta stand behind it. I think they're standing behind it, but again, it has to still work dramatically. It can't just be them saying, let's just figure out ways to not satisfy people and drive people insane for 18 hours, because that's torture. But if you feel like you're in good hands, and I do feel like we're in good hands, I think it's gonna pay off. But again, when does that stop being, as a fan, like, confidence in Mark Frost and David Lynch, like it's going to pay off? And when does it become like a, some sort of Lost Highway mind effect where you're tricking your mind into thinking this is all going to pay off when it really maybe won't? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I think if we get to part 17, I know 17 and 18 play together, but if we get to midway through 17 and things are still moving at this pace, you better start mentally preparing yourself for very little resolution. Maybe even 16. Like, so that if you do get surprised with a huge payoff, then awesome. But if not, I don't want to see Twitter just blow up like F this and because no matter what, even if Lynch just has 2 hours of himself puking Garmonbozia for 2 hours in the finale, there's still going to be people on the Twin Peaks pages saying this was the most brilliant thing ever. He defied expectations. People tuned in to see the end of Twin Peaks and he puked for 2 hours. It's brilliant. Yeah. And then you're going to have other people saying it's the worst thing ever. So,
I want them to end well. I want them to kind of redeem their reputation, because they, because the show was cut so short originally and they left with the cliffhanger as a big FU. I want them to.
Well,
I want them to feel.
Let's tell the real story. They didn't do the cliffhanger to be FU, even though a lot of people think that. They did it to push ABC into in a position where you have to bring it back because you can't leave it like this. So they just set it up.
Is that really what happened? I don't think I ever knew that.
Yeah.
Ooh, that didn't work.
No, it didn't. But the thing is, though, is if they hadn't done that, if they had kind of wrapped something up, right, we wouldn't be getting this new series right now. Mm-hmm. Some people might say that's a good thing. No. I think the fans were so on board for this that first night when it was all 4 episodes dropped. They felt like this is the greatest thing ever. By the time you got to part 10, part 11, now part 12, you're starting to see the boat rock. And you're seeing just who's going to finish out this ride and who's jumping for shore. And there's a lot of people jumping for shore. There's a lot of people still in the boat. But every new part that comes out, we're losing more and more from that boat. And I think by the time we get to the end, it's going to be, me and 30 other people watching it. And I hope for those 30 people, including myself, that it like I've said before, I don't care how it ends. I really don't. I just want to feel like I want to feel like it's an ending to a 18-hour movie and not just, a freeze frame. But again, you told me right now that if someone says to Cooper, "What's your name?" and he says Dougie Jones, and he goes off with Sonny Jim and Janie, you're not gonna like that.
Yeah, unless they actually properly build up to that point, and we show Cooper getting back, and maybe if Laura comes back and he goes and visits Sarah, whatever leads up to that, to traumatize him so much to be like, I'm out. I'm completely out of this whole thing. Screw these supernatural demons. I'm out. I'm going to Vegas. I'm going to live as a partial vegetable and have a beautiful wife and a cute kid.
He doesn't
That's it.
have to be a vegetable. He could just be Cooper as just Dougie Jones. Like,
Yeah.
he just has the name Dougie, but he's Cooper.
If they build that up and we know that that is the perfect release for Cooper to actually finally be happy, then sure, do it. But you have to build that up. You can't just, it can't come as a surprise or come out of nowhere. It has to fit. I want to feel an emotional response to that. So.
Okay, so we got your answer about Bobby and Shelley being married, or were married. We got Audrey back in the new series. Okay, now Kyle promised us that we were going to find out how's Annie. When does that happen? It could just be another throwaway line like the Chet Desmond line, but I just want more acknowledgement than just we found some spare diary pages in the men's bathroom.
Not a clue.
You know what I'd love? I'd love the doppelganger to go into the Roadhouse men's bathroom and find somewhere in the stall where it says "for a good time, call Laura," and he calls Laura's phone from upstairs because God knows Sarah hasn't changed anything in that house, and she could tell Frank, I heard her phone ring once.
Oh my gosh!
And that's why the past dictates the future. Part 17.
Oh jeez.
I mean, are we even going to deal with this Roadhouse prostitution angle, or is that just to let us know it's still happening? You know.
And things like that. I really liked it that they brought Walter back. I think that's incredible. He's had a rough life, and the fact that he got to do this again was really cool. I like that. And he looked really good. Like, he looked healthy. I love that. But I don't care if I see Jean-Michel again. I don't care about Renault Brothers or what's happening at the Roadhouse, because that it just doesn't matter to me.
What if Audrey isn't in a mental institution? What if she's running One-Eyed Jacks with Charlie? What if she's the new Blackie?
I wouldn't mind that at all, actually. I think that'd be pretty interesting. It would show a total twist of the trauma that she's been through and how she, reacts to that by completely changing her whole lifestyle to do something unfavorable. So
yeah, maybe Ben Horn still owns it, and she says, let me be your daughter again, Daddy. Let me run One-Eyed Jacks.
Well, that's gross, but you never know.
Well, considering that, their interaction at the beginning of season 2, close your eyes. This is the stuff that dreams are made of.
Oh, so creepy.
I gotta say, as Kyle MacLachlan promised on Twitter that this new series was going to cause people to have massive diarrhea while watching the show. I gotta say that, as creepy as some moments are, I really don't think that we've had anything as outright scary as some of the moments in the original series.
Oh, no, of course not. The Laura and Bob death scene at like the season 2 opener in episode 8, I still can't watch that. That was 20 years ago. I still can't. Cheryl Lee and her janky teeth and screaming and the weird angle that is one of the most terrifying things I've ever seen in my life.
Right. And again, like I'm saying, no matter how creepy things are in this new series so far, like there's nothing that's hit the Madeline Ferguson death scene.
No, never.
Like even the stuff in part 8, which I really liked, gotta lie, I do. But all the Woodsman stuff though, I wasn't scared by it.
No.
It was horror movie tropes and that type of thing, but I wasn't, oh my God, you know what I mean? Like I am, the mood of the original series scared me more than this whole series has done as a whole. I'm fascinated by the evil in this new series, but I feel like we're looking at this series from almost like a God's point of view, where it's just chess pieces we're moving around the board. You know, we're not, even though we're engaged in the story, we're not fully emotionally engaged, because the storytelling way Lynch is telling us, everybody isolated, short little blips of scenes, whatever. We're not able to get fully invested in storylines and characters because we're kept at arm's bay. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Whereas
100%.
in the original series, we were brought in, we were made to feel like family in all of these people's lives and homes. And so it felt very personal to us.
Yeah.
The only reason why this new series feels personal to us is because we're bringing 25 years worth of baggage with us. If this had been season 1, I don't think we would be getting the same reaction. You know, this whole thing is playing on our nostalgia and our feelings from the original series. And that's why I say that, yes, new viewers can watch this. People can, you know, they can obviously, you know, go from Netflix and watch it, and that's fine. But I don't think it's going to work the same way if you brought 25 years of your life into this as well.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, you said it exactly right.
All right. Well, on that note, let's wrap this up. So, all right, Mandy, thank you for joining me. Next week is apparently Audrey's line of "What's the story, Charlie?" And yeah, we're coming up towards the end. I can't believe it. Six more episodes or parts, or however you want to say it. But it's been an amazing ride, and something tells me these last 6 weeks are going to be insane in the membrane, to say the least.
Yeah, I agree. Not
just the parts in themselves, but online reactions, fan reactions. I mean, I try to bubble myself away from a lot of that stuff, because it's just, you know, people are just praising it or going crazy, and you just feel like this turmoil going on, and it's best to just kind of sit back and show up on Sunday nights and watch the episode in part. And if I'm not mistaken, this Sunday, doesn't it move up an hour?
Yes, the 6th.
Right, the 6th. So it will be on at 5 o'clock Pacific time and 8 o'clock Eastern time. Wow. And I found out that on September 3rd, I think, or maybe September 4th, one of those days, the day that part 17 and 18 air, Showtime is starting part 1 at like 4 in the morning. And they're going to play the entire series all day long, all the way until 17 and 18.
Ooh, that would be fun.
Yeah.
Not like I don't watch it all the time anyway, but still.
Yeah, definitely. So, all right, guys, there is our watch along for part 12. Let's rock. I hope you enjoyed it. There's just so much to talk about and so many things to just discuss and wrap our minds around. And again, everything Mandy and I say could be totally wrong in 3 weeks. You know, we could be like screaming about this and that, and 3 weeks later we're like, oh, it, you know, totally makes sense and blah blah blah. Of course, because that's what this show does. You know, it's like Dr. Amp and his shovels. You know, I wonder what that means. It means, as far as we know, nothing. I mean, hopefully, hopefully something does happen with those shovels, but right now it's kind of nothing. But yeah, so I can't wait to see what happens, and I can't wait to feel about this show maybe 6 months from now. Like, you know, looking back and being like, okay, now we've processed it. Now we can look at it and we can actually talk about everything, you know, the good, the bad, the pros and cons and all that stuff. Right now, though, we're in the middle of it. We're in the thick of it. And, you know, we're not judging it. We're just discussing it right now, because we can't judge it until we see the whole thing. So, but we can discuss what we like and what we don't like in the moment. So that's all we're doing. So please don't go too harsh on us in the on the likes and dislikes. Because a lot of you guys didn't like this episode either. And I love this episode, honestly. I loved it. I thought it was great. But I was shocked at how much crap we got a couple episodes ago. And now this episode, the community just like turned on it. And I was thinking, it's for the first 40 minutes after the initial watch, I thought it was fantastic. Now I'm pretty much on board for almost, you know, I would say 90% of the episode I'm like fully on board with. So anyway, thank you guys for watching. Make sure to like these videos and share them and subscribe to the main channel if you guys haven't already done so. So we'll see you soon. Take it easy. Bye.